communication accommodation theory explains how people change the way they behave when interacting with different people. The communication accommodation theory has been tested many times over the years. We even proved this theory to be correct in our everyday lives. The people we interact with and the environment we interact in affects our behavior. People accommodate to the people around them. David B. Buehler, a professor at the University of Arizona, and R. Kelly On, a professor at the University of Hawaii, tested the effects of speech rate on compliance using the communication accommodation theory. They wanted to explain the effects of speech rate compliance with a request for help. Their prediction was that the speech rate similarity of the people being studied increases social attractiveness and creates relational obligations to comply. The communication accommodation theory explains why people comply or change the way they interact. And the social experiment by Buehler and On helped prove this theory. The communication accommodation theory can be applied to many social situations. This theory helps test how people adapt to their environment. How they behave when interacting with others also helps prove this theory. The communication accommodation theory was created by Howard Giles in 1971 at the University of California. There are two types of processes in the communication accommodation theory. One is convergence, which is when someone is moving towards someone else's speaking style in hope of gaining acceptance. The other process is divergence. This is when a person is trying to keep a distance from others. The communication accommodation theory is constantly being used in our lives. One way we use it is by matching our speaking styles to the person we are speaking to. We also do not want to portray a negative side of ourselves. We only show the most positive side of us. We also use this to be seen as desirable. The communication accommodation theory is a very interesting theory, especially because we are constantly using it. David B. Buehler and R. Kelly On did a study on the effects of speech rate similarity on compliance by asking 320 students from a university to test their experiment on the association of nonverbal sensitivity and vocal patterns. They offered these students extra credit to do this study. In the end, they only had 263 students participate in individual and group settings. The first thing that Buehler and On did was a speech rate pretest, which was done individually. After this, they did a nonverbal sensitivity test. Next was a speech rate preference test. All of these helped give them a better understanding of the communication accommodation theory's effect on speech rate. Buehler and On were able to test only two hypotheses. One predicted that speech rate similarity would create more favorable immediacy interpretation of the compliance message. This hypothesis was correct. The other hypothesis was incorrect because actual similarity, speakers' rate by listeners' rate, and perceived similarity did not affect compliance. The communication accommodation theory proves to us that social attractiveness influences how people behave when listening to a speaker. The experiment tested by Buehler and On further proved changes in social attractiveness and affects speech rate similarity because people react to different social attractiveness. The communication accommodation theory, along with Buehler and On's study, shows us that the communication accommodation theory is used in our everyday lives whether we know it or not.